Ah, the Ratkin. Gaia's answer to the question, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Except those horses have the plague. Today we take a look at the Ratkin. Hello everyone, welcome to the Maple Table. My name's Nathaniel. This is a channel where we discuss role-playing games such as Starfinder and Werewolf the Apocalypse. If that's something you're into, I would love to have you hit that subscribe button and come join me at the table. Today's video comes at the request of a subscriber, and we're going to keep the viewers happy. So today we're talking about the Ratkin. In the early days of Earth, when Gaia was creating the changing breeds, she made Ratkin as a pest control for the humans. It's a little bit ironic, don't you think? The way that they did their pest control against the humans was spreading disease to lower human numbers, or even causing famine by eating all the crops. Thus, this crippled the human numbers and kept them in check back in the early days. As you might expect, the Guru really didn't take too kindly to this, because each success that the Ratkin had, the Guru felt like it was an attack or a failure to protect on them. Resentment festered. The tensions between the Ratkin and the Guru, they eventually came to a head. And as in great Guru tradition, they went on a Ratkin slaughter. This of course happened during the War of Rage, which I will cover in a different video. After the Guru made a sizable dent in the Ratkin numbers, the Ratkin did eventually flee into the Umbra, and they hid there for a very long time. Slowly, they began reintroducing themselves into the human population. This started about several decades ago. Even now, the Ratkin still view themselves as the purifiers of Gaia, and they are way behind on culling the human numbers. With the task being so huge, the Ratkin actually believe that humanity is beyond saving and that all of it needs to go. And they feel like this needs to happen before Gaia is lost completely to the web of the Weaver. Once Ratkin had an established foothold in human society, they began a breeding program. The Ratkin has a much shorter breeding cycle than your average human or other changing breed for that matter. And not only is it shorter, they give birth to greater numbers. Part of how they did this, the Ratkin have a plague of their own called the birthing plague, and they exposed their kinfolk to this, which made them more susceptible and better for breeding. Even though their numbers have been exploding over the last 30 years, they keep themselves hidden from the prying eyes of any of the changing breeds, lest they be found and put to death. Although it's been a while since the days of the bubonic plague, which the Ratkin were responsible for, they have not lost their Gaia-given expertise when it comes to disease and pestilence. Only in the recent century has human understanding of disease really started to progress and science become more forefront in preventing disease. The Ratkin, they don't need the science labs to breed disease and death. They are naturally gifted when it comes to these types of things. And they enlist the help of plague spirits, so there's that, I guess. So how do the Ratkin fight? Terror tactics and guerrilla warfare style. That's how. Ratkin tend to not be very physically strong. You still wouldn't want to fight one as a human, but in comparison to the other changing breeds, they're not actually that strong. The Ratkin will prefer to kill you from a distance, or from behind, from the shadows. If one's particularly pissed off at you, they might just build a really big bomb and blow you up from a distance. Did I mention that they excel in sabotage and demolitions? Because they do. One of the tenets that the Ratkin strive to uphold is to survive. That is their goal. They believe that the apocalypse is coming, and you will find them in many fringe religions that preach about the end of times or the end of the world. Another tenet of theirs that they talk about very heavily is to breed. It's interesting that this is just one of their core tenets, is to proliferate. This is strange. None of the other changing breeds have this, where they literally make this is the reason you live. One of the ways that they do that, as I mentioned earlier, was the birthing plague. Let's talk a little bit about that one. The birthing plague transforms the Ratkin kinfolk into Ratkin. It also kind of makes them go crazy, like literally insane. Here's what happens. When you get the birthing plague, 1, you spit out a lot of Ratkin babies, and secondly, you go a bit crazy. Okay, maybe a lot crazy. Because when you're infected with the birthing plague, you basically start hearing from hundreds of ancestor spirits, and you start reliving part of their memories in these like vivid visions, delusions, hallucinations, many different terms of whatever you want to call it, and you experience the memory of the Ratkin ancestors while hearing hundreds of them talking in your ear at the same time, basically non-stop. In many, this madness will eventually fade or at least come down to a controllable level of crazy. Some never recover, and it leaves them in a babbling heap that you would keep in a corner. The rest who learn to live with this would have some form of recognized mental illness. And being that it's so common, many of the Ratkin know how to treat it, or they have many coping mechanisms that they are able to teach others to deal with their, in effect, craziness. In Ratkin society, there's actually a split that happens between the two societies. One is your regular Ratkin, the ones who hid in the Umbra and survived the mass slaughter from the werewolves. The other, they managed to stay hidden, but more so in the east, and they belong to the beast courts of the east, and they are called the Nezumi. The Nezumi have managed to live in relative peace with many of the other changing breeds, especially the ones that are part of the beast courts. The Nezumi are aware of how fast the Ratkin are breeding and how fast their numbers are growing. The Ratkin and the Nezumi do have different goals, but they do share a close relationship. As such, the Ratkin have asked that the Nezumi not reveal how much the Ratkin is breeding, and the Nezumi has agreed as long as the Ratkin stays out of the way of the Nezumi plans. In general Ratkin society, they function more like feudal fiefdoms, essentially. Think kings in the Dark Ages. A colony elects a king or queen to rule over them and provide the guidance. The way that this is done is there is a council of elders and they have a vote. In order to be crowned king or queen, you must have a unanimous vote. Being that the Ratkin are so well known for their sabotage and backstabbing, how do you get a unanimous vote? The answer is very simple. You kill everyone who disagrees with you or won't go in your direction. When does a vote like this happen? That is an excellent question. The only time a new monarch, king or queen, is chosen is when the old one dies. When you are elected king or queen in a Ratkin society, you rule for life. As long or short as that may be, as king or queen of Ratkin society, you are tasked with having regular banquets and general gatherings so that the other members of your court or your nest can present their grievances and also have time for some celebrations. If you don't, this will probably get you killed. I truly did not know how terrifying Ratkin society was before I started making this video. I am terrified of the Ratkin. They would make an excellent antagonist to many chronicles. If you found this information useful today, please hit that like button, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you get more content like this from myself. Up on the screen now, I will have a playlist of other changing breed tribes that you can take a look at. And on the other side, YouTube will have selected a video that it thinks you might enjoy. My name's Nathaniel. You've been watching The Maple Table. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.